All right, now to finish section 11, we will complete the story of the Athenian philosopher and then switch to one that Pliny had a little bit more firsthand knowledge of. So in the previous section, the philosopher had summoned the city magistrates and they began to excavate where the previous night the old man as the ghost in chains had eventually stopped walking in the atrium. And our subject is going to be ossa, the word for bones, neuter plural, are discovered having been inserted or kind of mixed in, for inserta, with chains. So bones having been mixed in with chains, and entangled. And I'd say the same ablative of means with chains goes with inserta, and obviously with implacita as well, which means entangled. A body which body let's see, for our next participle here, to look at the vocab, having become rotten by both age. I would say that could easily be an ablative of means. This next one could be ablative of means or even ablative of cause, and by the land. So rotten by means of age, and because of the land, like around it, probably just bugs and rot and decay that would happen from the moisture. Nuda, it's bare or naked, exposed. And consumed, or even eaten up. It was abandoned or left. And then you could say either with or in chains. Either way, this will be an ablative plural. Now, still referring to the body, having been collected, it is buried by public expense. This could either be ablative of means or just simply an adverb. The home, postea, afterwards. And then rite here is going to be another adverb, either fitly or rightly, maybe even suitably. It is lacking, or it is without. That's again the home being the subject of this. And then this verb always goes with an ablative. And to really kind of have it make sense in English, we're probably going to have to imply yet another adverb here. And we could say either once or after the with the spirits having been buried or put away. So manibus comes from manes, the word for spirits, and conditus is going to be a form of a word that means to bury. So again, those are ablatives, sort of a special ablative usage that is going with our main verb, caruit, over here. And referring to that story, and I believe even the first story, Pliny now in the first person says, I believe or I trust, your direct object, hike, these things, indeed. And then I wasn't entirely sure what to do with this particular present active participle. I finally just decided on a sort of an ablative of source, these things from one's affirming. And so that is again a present active participle with the verb meaning to strengthen, confirm, and I would say even probably affirm is kind of the English derivative from this. So I trust, going with your direct object, hike, indeed, these things. And then again, if we do that as an ablative of source, it would be from one's confirming or strengthening. And then he even says, I am able, possum, to strengthen illud, this, for others. And I think, in other words, what he's saying is this next story, I'll specifically be able to talk credibly about it because it's something that happened within my own household, whereas previously he kind of trusted other people who had similar, much closer knowledge to the situation. So he tells us there is a libertus, a freedman, and this would be a dative of possession, so we could translate it like a genitive, so like of mine or of me, of my household. After all, this guy is free, so he's no longer a slave. Non illeratus, not uneducated. In other words, somewhat educated. That's referring to the freedman. He says, with this freedman, my younger brother, minor frater, was resting on the same couch. So it'll be ablative place where. And he, I believe he's referring to his younger brother here, not the particular freedman, but honestly, it's with this one, my younger brother. Assuming the previous subject was younger brother, I'm going to assume that that's an antecedent of is here. He seemed, visus est, to himself to discern or perceive a certain man, it's our direct object, going with this participle, resting on toro, on the cushion, or on the mattress, sort of the couch. And he was moving towards, or moving forward, kultros, scissors, or shears. So that's going to be the direct object of the accusative participle ad moventem. So ad moventem is also modifying the quendam, the certain man resting, and he's moving, literally moving towards, ad moventem. And the direct object of that participle, this participle is already accusative because it's modifying the direct object of cernere earlier in the sentence, where it seemed to him that he sort of discerned or perceived this certain man. So now the certain man as our participle with it, or sorry, as our accusative with this accusative participle is now going further with another accusative that is simply the direct object of that participle, kultros. So he was moving forward shears, kultros, towards his head. And even cutting away, atque etiam is and even, and this cutting away is also going to link back up to these other three accusatives that are all obviously referring to this new ghost that has appeared on the cushion. All right, it's a quendam, a certain man, and then three present active participles going with it. This present active participle, amputatem, is also taking its own direct object, cutting away hair from his very crown. Vertique is sort of like the very kind of top of your head, or the crown of your head. Ubi, when it grew light, he himself here for tonsus, I'm going to apply an est. I feel like it works a little bit better if we turn this into an indicative verb. He himself was sheared, meaning had his hair cut. Kerka verikem, around. It's going to be a brief little prepositional phrase, around the crown of his head. And hair is discovered or found lying down, sort of like on the ground, or even on the cushion right there. So what is actually happening here is this final subject change, the ipse in line 50, is our previous subject, which was when he talked about in line what are we in here? 48, the libertus, the freedman. And by the way, I forgot to go back and interject this, but I did check in a commentary. The is at the end of line 48 is also referring to the freedman, not to the younger brother. All right, so the freedman, he was the one who seemed to see this thing, and then when he, basically when the sun came up, he himself, the freedman, not the ghost is gone, we presume, but he had his hair cut in that exact same place where he saw the ghost cutting his hair, and then his hair was actually on the ground. So it's sort of like whatever action he saw the ghost taking had a real effect on his own person. All right, so a little bit tricky just in terms of following what's actually happening in this one. Again, take it from the top while it's fresh, and good luck in your practice.